What's up, early humanities peeps and people? I have chosen the structure, sculpture, and ability of ancient civilizations for my first oral presentation, specifically the Olmecs, an ancient Mesoamerican civilization, and the giant Olmec heads that they created. They are a fascinating part of the early America history and the peoples. It's a testament to their ability, their technology, and all of their sophistication in tools and processing and their ability to move and deal with massive amounts of weight. The Olmec heads are very interesting because they weigh up to 10 tons and average around 6 to 8 tons. They are made out of single cut basalt boulders, which means that it was one piece that was transported generally 50 to 65 miles over rivers and different swampy terrains until they got to a place where they could be sculpted into the head that they now are. There are 17 of these heads that have been found, spanning from the 1880s until the last one being discovered in 1994. And they have made bouts and rounds around different museums across the world since they are so fantastic and interesting. They could be compared with Stonehenge or the pyramids in the craziness, the interestingness, and the unknown of how these massive amounts of weight were transported by ancient people. The Olmecs were around in the 12 to 800 BC era, which means that they are a very old culture, and it means that they didn't have insane tools to transport these boulders. They were generally using massive water boats that could paddle these boulders while they were on the rivers, and then they were using log rollers on the land. But the log rollers and the boats, it still is a testament to their ability because these are so large. There's multiple videos about the intense weight that these boulders have that people of our era go back and they try to move them with the tools that we assume the Olmecs were trying to use or that the Olmecs used and were not successful at moving them. So obviously they had some sort of advanced technology or ability that we don't quite understand, like to the pyramids where you have the squares that weighed 2.5 tons to 3.5 tons and were moved long distances and stacked. And it leaves that mystery and the question of how did they build this? How did they move this? How did they sculpt this? The Olmec heads are also interesting because of their cultural significance. They're deemed as, they're thought to be a lot of different things. They're thought to be astrology symbols looking towards the stars or pointing towards astrological patterns, astronomical patterns, and they're meant to point to different areas. But one of the best theories that I came across was the fact that they are sculpted after royalties and leaders of the Olmec culture who had the money to give people work to go get these stones, to harvest them, to transport them, to stand them up, and then to carve them. And they're made after the likeness of the rulers of that time to show that ruler's greatness. Generally, they were made after that ruler had died as a testament to that ruler's greatness. A lot of times they were used around the area that the Olmecs would rule, so they were used to mark borders, but they're also used in religious and ceremonial ways to mark places that people might worship or to mark where royalty might live. So there's one place where 6 of these heads were all facing outward to show that they were looking in one direction and to show the communication and working togetherness of each stone. It's also thought that they could be looking back towards Africa and other continents that would have been connected or close or accessible before the continental divide. And the Olmecs are saying and showing, hey, we know that there's land out there. We don't know how to get to it necessarily, but there is a civilization across there that we're looking towards and that we're prepared for them to come to us. So there's a lot of different theories about it because it's unknown. Just similar to the way of Stonehenge and the pyramids, it's unknown how it was built and why they're there and what their full significance and meaning was. But we know that they're significant and they're awe-inspiring just to look at them. They are massive weights. When they've been taken to museums, the process of moving them has been a difficulty to work out. 6-ton cranes have had to come in to get them onto trailers, and the question of will the street hold up has been asked. So a specialty truck has to come in, and then getting them into the museum is a specific matter that must be very grueling and hard to take care of. And then once it's in there, everybody agrees that there should be nothing around them, only other small Olmec heads, but no other artifacts that could take away from the greatness of the Olmec heads because they're so special and unique. They have individual unique carvings, so they could show dimples or the way that a face is structured, show the impression of eyes and a nose. So each one is really made after an individual likeness of a ruler, making each one different and special. Generally, they'll have a cap around their head that was used in war or in a sports game that they had with a rubber ball. So that will be decorated to some degree, and its semblance is still a little unknown, but it doesn't take away from the fact that these are special things, and they show that the Olmecs were advanced and that they had ability, and that ancient civilizations were not just hunter-gatherers or basic agricultural people. They had ability to create, process, move, and work together as a community and a society to show dominance and to show their fortitude and ability. So I think that it's important for everybody to look into ancient structures and sculptures that have significance and that we don't know the full meaning behind them, because it's interesting. It's interesting to theorize and have speculation about why they're around and what they could mean. And it always makes for interesting conversation and research. And it makes the Olmecs especially special because they have the giant heads. And they're the only Mesoamerican culture that seems to have done that. They're the first one that shows advanced sophistication in their abilities as a society. So I think that they should get more respect and more honor as someone and a culture that did something very special and ahead of their time.